Hello, I'm Lorraine from Crafty Azelle, and you've joined me today to see this pumpkin card. It's a slider card, and oh, get hold of it. There we go. Pop out sentiments can be displayed closed like that, or because this doesn't extend beyond the bottom of the card, it can be displayed like that. And to make it, I'm using the new release from Visible Image, the Happy Halloween stamp set, and the pumpkins come with matching dies. So let's get going. For my background, I ink blended Twisted Citron and Villainous Potion, and then used the Multiverse stencil with some black texture paste through it, and then set that aside to dry. Meanwhile, I cut my card base and my tabs for the slider mechanism. So this piece is 6 cm by 7 cm, and then I've cut 1/2 cm off the top and the bottom, leaving a little 1/2 cm tabs either side, and that's to make the channel for the plastic bag to go, which creates a slider mechanism. I then used a strip of cheap plastic bag. I found the 10p bags are the best for that. Added a strip of double-sided tape across the top of it, because you want to stick the bag to itself around the fat H, as I'm calling it. So I pull the bag snug, but not too tight, but it doesn't need to be baggy either, just nice and snug around there. Trimmed off the excess, so that makes the actual moving section of the slider. So I position my slider mechanism behind the pumpkin, and you can just see there's little triangles sticking out, so I just trim those off. In the end, there's going to be foam tape on the sides of the slider, so the bag won't slide off, but at the moment you just need to keep it in the channel. So my pull tabs, I cut 2 6 cm squared tabs for these, but it didn't work out, as you'll see later. So the top one, the Happy Halloween, needs to be 6 cm wide by 5 cm tall, and the bottom one is 6 cm by 6 cm. Needs to be a little bit longer to make the pull section. So I've heat embossed in green the sentiments, and I've written pull just underneath the bottom one. So now it's a case of attaching them to the actual slider mechanism. So we put a length of double-sided tape along the top of the slider, and this is for the bottom tab, and then put a length of tape, turn the slider mechanism over, and then add a length of tape at the bottom of that piece. So you should have tape one at the top and then on the back one at the bottom. So I'm going to put the bottom pull tab first. So I attach that on. I use the Stix 2 ultra clear double-sided tape, which is really strong, and I've never had that fail on these kind of projects. So I've turned it over, and I'm putting the top slider on, obviously face down, because I need both of the sentiments to be on the same side. I've just realised with this that the Happy Halloween tab is too long, so I've trimmed it down. Well, I'm working out now how long it needs to be, because obviously I need the trick or treat one to extend beyond the bottom of the pumpkin, otherwise there's nothing to pull. So here we are, looking at my thought process such that it is. The Halloween tab needs to come low enough that it will be hidden behind the pumpkin and you can't see any of it. So I'm just trying to work out now where to cut that, and here we go, measuring how much I need to cut off. So I think it was actually 4.8 centimetres rather than 5, but with these kind of slider mechanisms you do have to play around a little bit to get it to work. So I keep offering up pumpkin. In the end, you've just got to stick it and then see if it works, and if it doesn't, move it around a little bit. So I found, because I wanted the thing to be to go up straight, I wound the mechanism back in and then lined up the edge. So that's looking like it's going to work now on there. And then just keep opening and closing the slider a bit, get it used to that mechanism. So for my main pumpkin, I used my craft knife and cut out the eyes, nose and mouth. And then because there was a little white edge showing on them, I just went around with a black marker pen just to colour the edges. And I cut out a piece of black glitter card which I glued behind the pumpkin so that he had glittery eyes and nose and mouth. This is a completely optional step, but I quite like the finish that gave. So now I will be trying to work out where to put the mechanism behind the pumpkin. I'm using 6-2 thin foam tape. It's only, I think it's 1.5mm deep. I don't want too much. I don't want too much dimension on it, but it just gives a little bit of room for the slider to move. And I'm literally just sticking that on the sides of the slider, keeping it away from the plastic bag and the tabs. And I usually would, I don't know if I recorded that, but I would check every time you put some foam tape on, check that the slider still works, so you can check you've not impinged the movement anywhere. So I've removed that and positioned it so that the pull tab's sticking out of the bottom, and then I realised when I open it up that it doesn't quite work, and I needed the pull tab at the bottom to be slightly lower, so I took it off and then just stuck it a few millimetres lower, and then that did the job. But it's very hard to see until you've got it in place. There's a little bit of messing around with this to position it. As you can see, I drew on the back when I worked it out so that I knew where to glue it. There we go. And just try it a few times to keep the mechanism moving, and you can see there how the mechanism works. It's quite simple but genius in the same thing. So now it's all about finishing the card. So I put more foam tape, but I'm double stacking this one so that there's a little bit more room to get hold of the pull tab, and that was the reason I put the pull tab on the top as well, so that there's more room to get your finger underneath, particularly because we've got a bit of dimension with the texture paste on the background. So I'm putting a double stacked layer of foam tape on each side of the slider tab, and then on the side of the pumpkins that are exposed, just to give those a little bit of support, I'm putting 3 layers of foam tape so that it's all the same height, more or less. There's probably a couple of pieces of card in there, but a difference, but it's just to support the pumpkin cheeks a little bit. But again, you just need to make sure that you keep all the adhesives away from the tabs and the slider mechanism. So I've trimmed my panel down to the edge of the patterned section, and then to make a matching matte layer for it, I should decide to go for a little bit thinner there. I'm using one of the markers that I used for the colouring the pumpkin, so I know that everything will match. So I glue my background panel onto the matte layer, so you can see the orange there just picks up, really coordinates well with the pumpkins. You might see as well that this is my second card. It's got a different background arrangement to the one that's on the photograph, but I've deliberately arranged the tabs and that so that it's not bigger than the card, so the card can be displayed open with the sentiments open or with them closed behind the pumpkin. So I put that in place, decided where to put my smaller pumpkins, glued them on. Because of the fact that I've got a textured background and it's uneven, I've got the foam tape on there which sticks really well, but I'm just going to put a few dots of glue down each side of the foam tape as well, just for some added security, since they're the only bits that are holding the mechanism onto the card, and then the mechanism is going to be moving. So yeah, again, I'm checking that the slider still works. Then I've got a black card base, and I'm going to glue the whole panel onto the black card base. What I'm going to do now, the little circles or the little hole apertures in the pattern, I just put a few gems. So hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Happy Halloween!